Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you to Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint for having me. I am so excited to go to paint with you today. Christmas is my ultimate favorite time to craft. It's really what sparked my initial love for crafting. I used to create with my mom, and so I'm really excited to be here with you today. So Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint, Chris with Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint can answer any questions you may have. I'm going to try to read the comments, so if you have any questions, let me know. And also let me know where you're coming from today. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. So thank you for joining me. So today we're going to be making Christmas ornaments using Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. And the Christmas ornaments have a vintage inspired feel, which is really my favorite. So today I've used 3 different colors. I've used Layla's Mint, and then I've also used Boxwood Green, Arabesque, and then Tricycle Red, which are really beautiful colors for this time of the year. And I just wanted to point out that you can see my Christmas village that I created last year using Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. If you want the full details, it's on my blog at countrypeony.com. So let's get started. Oh wait, before we get started, I wanted to mention, if you have any questions about today's project, don't worry, because next week this full project will be featured on Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint blog. So you can find all the tools and all the steps there. Okay, so let's get started. So for this project, I just used some paper mache balls. You can purchase these at your local craft store. You can find them on Amazon. You can basically find them anywhere. If you cannot find paper mache balls, then you can also use glass ornaments, or you can use plastic ornaments, as long as you use Miss Mustard Seeds bonding agent with the paint. For today, we're not using the bonding agent because the paint adheres to this paper mache beautifully. And the reason why I use the paper mache for this project is because I believe the cardboard really lends itself to a beautiful finish with Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. It kind of adds to the texture and the dimension of it. Okay, so let's get started. We will take a paper mache ball, and so at the end result is going to be a ornament that's going to hang from your tree or wherever you want to put it. But we need a hanger, and this obviously doesn't have one. So before we even start painting, I think it's great to get a craft knife and to score the top in a starburst pattern. So you're just going to want to score it all the way down, and be very careful because this is obviously very dangerous with X-Acto knives. But you're going to bring it all the way down and make sure that you make a decent cut, because you're going to hide it with ribbon anyway. And so before you start painting, I recommend doing that. That just allows for you to add your wreath hanger later. Okay, so to get started on the paint, for this project, to paint your paper mache, you're going to do your standard 1-to-1 ratio, which is on the packaging of the Miss Mustard Seed Milk Paint packaging. So 1 part milk paint to 1 part water. And the ratio for this is perfect because it goes on beautifully. And for my crafting projects, I normally do a tablespoon because it doesn't require a whole lot of paint. And I recommend starting small with the paint because you can always add on to that later. You don't have to do it all, you don't have to mix the paint and then you're left over with a lot of paint. So that's what I recommend. And so for this project, I already mixed up some Layla's Mint, which is a beautiful backdrop for some of your darker colors when you stencil them on. And so let me just show you how beautifully the paint goes on. So again, hello Annie. So again, this is a 1-to-1 ratio, and you're just going to paint it on 1 coat, 1 thin layer, and it goes on really, really well. And actually these houses behind me are also cardboard, So you know this was done a year ago, you know that the project holds up really well. And I believe that these paper mache balls could be a beautiful gift for this time of the year. They obviously would look great on your tree, or my favorite, you could even make a bunch of them and cluster them together to make a wreath for this time of the year. And this project was actually inspired by, as a child, my mother used to craft with me, especially at Christmas time, and she had these stunning paper mache ornament balls. And so I thought this would be a sweet nod to those ornament balls that I always remember hanging with my mother. And yes, Layla Mint is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. It's not a neutral because it's a green, but it's definitely light enough that you can add on some of your more intense colors like your Boxwood and your Tricycle, what we're going to do later. So this is just one coat, and you're going to apply it to the entire ball, and then you're going to let it dry fully, and then you're going to do one more coat. I recommend 2 coats of the 1-to-1 ratio for this. And let me just kind of clean my hands before I start with the next part. And the beauty with Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint is that it's so easy to clean up and it's non-toxic. I love crafting with my kids, and this is the perfect paint to craft with them. Okay, so now we've painted the first coat of the milk paint. So now before this live, I painted another coat of the Layla's Mint on here. So you can see the difference between the two. It's a little bit richer. It's obviously, you've got better coverage there. So again, but you can do whatever you like. You can even keep it bare. You don't even have to paint the ornament ball. You can just, what you're gonna do later is you're going to stencil, and you can even just stencil the paint on top of there. It's really whatever you want. And that was another thing I was gonna say about this project. It's incredibly simple. We're gonna complete one in this entire time frame. And it's also inexpensive because you're only using just a little bit of paint, and it's customizable. So you can use whatever color palette that you have already in your home. Okay, so we've already painted one coat, and I just painted 2 coats of the ornament ball. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix our stencil color. So I wanted to show you this part because for the stencil, you're gonna have some bleed through if you use just a 1-to-1 ratio. I just used some simple stencils that I found at my local craft store. And if you use the 1-to-1 ratio, after practicing and testing on my own, some of the paint did kind of seep through and it wasn't a real crisp, clear look. So we are going to actually go a little heavy with the milk paint for this next round. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a tablespoon of, we're going to do Boxwood this time because I think Boxwood would be really beautiful on that Layla's Mint. And so we're going to do 2 tablespoons, or you could do 1 tablespoon and half a tablespoon of water. We'll do that. We're just going to do 1 tablespoon of the milk paint, and then we'll do half a tablespoon of water so that you've got a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay. And as you know, mixing the milk paint is really fun. It allows you some versatility with your thickness, with the final look, and it is really a lot of fun. And I prefer to use a whisk, but you can use a fork, you can use a dedicated mixer for this purpose. And so I have Boxwood in here, and you can just kind of play with it. You just don't want it to be too runny. Okay, so that's a little bit too thick, so we're gonna add a little bit more water. And this is why I love playing with the paint too, because it's kind of like a science experiment. And you really can't go wrong. You add more water, you add more paint. And I wanted to apologize in advance if y'all hear any construction noise in the background. it is for a really good purpose. I am in the process of renovating an old general store that's right by my house into my new studio. So before you know it, I'm going to be in my studio doing live. So if you want to learn more about that, you can contact me or you can check it out on my website at countrypeony.com. But it's very, very exciting because I am such a fan of vintage and I cannot wait to use Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint on all of my furniture pieces in there. Okay, so this is actually pretty thick, but I like that. So let me kind of show you. The texture is very thick. It's almost, I don't know the proper terminology, but kind of gloopy, as opposed to what we were working with earlier with Layla's mint, which is, I like to say a pancake batter. Some people say melted ice cream, but you get the gist. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the one that is dried, the one that I did earlier, the 2 coats of, and we're going to attach the stencil directly on top of it. So with this process, this is where you can get creative with it. You can hand paintbrush whatever design you want on here. I'm not that exact and that perfect, so I like to use stencils, especially when I'm working with small projects like this. It takes the guesswork out, it's simple. And then you also can do whatever pattern that you like. For my purposes, I just did random patterns because I think that's really fun. It adds to the whimsy and the fun of the project. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to attach the stencil directly on top of the ornament ball and making sure that this is completely dry before you get started. And then what I did, I got this foam brush. You can use any brush, but a foam brush seemed to work really well for this. So you're just going to kind of stamp. Let me move this. Okay. You're going to just kind of stamp the foam brush into your paint, your really thick paint. As you can see, it's really gloopy. I don't know, maybe someone can tell me what the proper term is. And then I would remove it by just kind of dabbing it onto the paint, onto the plate, or a napkin or something. Okay, so from here, we're just going to stencil it. And I found that just by dabbing onto the ornament ball was the best way to do it as opposed to painting. It gives it a fun textural look, almost kind of 3D with the milk paint. And I didn't go heavy, I didn't go super crazy with the amount of paint. And there you have it, the cutest little heart. And I love how that boxwood looks on that Layla's mint. The 2 greens together are just so, so cute. So what we're going to keep doing here is we'll just keep doing a random pattern because that's how I like to create. I'm not a real exact person. I like to have fun when I'm creating, and so this is my process, but please do whatever makes your hearts happy. And honestly, that's why I like Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint too, because you can't go wrong. So many times in the middle of a project, I got discouraged because things just weren't working out. And if I kept pushing through, it turns out. And that's what I love about Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. It's so versatile and it's just such a wonderful medium to work with, especially when you're crafting. So here's another one. Obviously I used hearts here, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm sure, you don't even have to go out and buy stencils. You can use whatever you have on hand or make your own with some vinyl, and if you have a cutter machine, or like I said, just freehand, whatever works best for you. So I'm just going to keep attaching some hearts, and just so you see how simple this is. Okay, so we've got our hearts on here, and so the next step is going to be applying the hanger, which I referenced earlier. So before you apply your hanger, I do recommend making sure that this dries completely so that you don't get basically you don't make a mess. I am not going to let this dry completely, so just so I can show you how the process works, okay? So first off, let me clean off my hands and then we can get started. So for this wreath hanger, again, you can use whatever you have on hand, but I found that a thin cord ribbon worked best for the actual hanger. So something, let me see what the thickness of this is. This is a decorative trim is what they're calling it, but it's just a thin cord hanger. And so as far as the length goes, it's really up to you, whatever you think. I don't like my hangers to be too long because then it's more about them and not about the actual ornament. So that's a good size. And now you might not have this problem, but I've always got fraying on the edges. So I'm gonna take one of my favorite tools, the handy dandy hot glue gun, and I'm going to just kind of connect it. You're gonna attach the glue and then you're gonna wrap it around. And just so that you use the glue as a connector to kind of make the frayed edges to kind of go into your ornament better. Okay, so now that you've got your hanger, I recommend a skewer for this project. I love keeping skewers in my toolbox. So two things that are very strange that I like keeping in my toolbox, my crafting toolbox, are skewers, and I love keeping zip ties. Zip ties are wonderful when you are making wreaths, when you are making, when you're hanging things, when you're setting up for events and so forth. So that's just a small tip I've got. So I've got a skewer, and the purpose of the skewer is to kind of act almost as a needle to get the wreath hanger in. And so we've already made that score, that starburst score that I did earlier. And you might have to use the end of the skewer to kind of make the hole a little bit bigger after you painted it, but it's there, so you're good. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to take the skewer and you're going to take your ornament hanger string and you're just going to stick it in there. You're going to wrap your ornament hanger string around your skewer and you're going to kind of needle it in there. That's how I best found it, easiest to do. And then you're just going to kind of stick it in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use your hot glue to reinforce that. So I was able to get that ornament ball hanger in there, and then you just use your hot glue and that reinforces it. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other end. And excuse me, my hands are getting dirty from the stamping. I should have waited till it dried. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to wrap the ribbon around the skewer and you're going to needle it in there. And if your skewer breaks, just like mine did, that's okay. You can use the other side. It's not a problem. Wonderful. Okay. So we are in there. You can see now you've got a cute little wreath, an ornament hanger for that. And then you can, again, secure it a little bit more with some hot glue. And I don't know if anyone's ever showed you this trick. I recently learned it. When you're using hot glue, kind of twist your hot glue gun off of it, and then it gets rid of those whiskers a lot easier. So it's a lot prettier project. Okay, so now that you have your ornament ball hanger ready to go, let's make it pretty. Because I'm all about making things look pretty and hiding the glue marks. So for this part, I I was at my local craft store and I found, I'm a sucker for beautiful ribbons. I actually make some ribbons. I have a vintage shop and I make my own hand silk ribbons. But I saw these gorgeous velvet hand torn ribbons, and I thought they would be perfect for this project. I haven't seen these at all the craft stores, but I was able to find this at mine. I know you can find them on Etsy. I think Amazon even carries some, but they're just beautiful, and I think they add such a gorgeous, gorgeous look to this ornament ball. Okay, so this is a two-step process to finish it off. So with this green, I love a blush and a green together. So we're gonna use this blush ribbon. And first, we're just gonna tie a knot to give it, just to really cover the ornament hanger, okay? So we're gonna start off by just tying a knot around it, tying just a simple knot. And you get it pretty tight, like so. So then it's kind of hanging like that. And then we're gonna use the hot glue to make sure that the ribbon is securely on there. And then also to kind of stabilize it, okay? So we're just gonna attach the hot glue at the base of the ribbon, as you can see. I put it just right down here, and that really, like I said, just makes sure that the ribbon stays there and it stays in place. And then if you want, you can even go a step further, and you can, talking about those whiskers, those hot glue whiskers are crazy. Okay, so what I also like to do is I also like to make sure that the ribbon stays put, so I'll put one on either side and just attach it to the ornament ball so that the ribbon stays put on the ornament ball. Okay, so that's our first step. And then our next step, because I just can't stop there, I've got to keep making it prettier and prettier. I like to add a fun little bow to the front of it. And so we're going to take that same ribbon, or you could use a different colored ribbon to add some interest. It's really up to you and what you have on hand and whatever look you're going for. So we're just going to make a cute little bow. I didn't want to make it too big because I didn't want it to overpower the ornament ball, because the ornament ball isn't too big. Okay, so we just make a simple little bow. Wonderful. Okay, so cute. I love it. Very, very simple. And then we're just going to attach it. I always try to find the best side of the ornament ball, you know, where your placement and some of your stenciling is done. And then you're just going to attach it to the front like so. Okay, so I just added the hot glue to the back of the bow, and then you're going to attach it directly onto here. And then you've got the cutest little ornament ball using Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint and some ribbon and a paper mache ball. So again, I think these would make adorable gifts. You can add them to your presents. You can obviously add them to your tree. I'm a big advocate for having more than one tree in your house. And so you can make a kitchen tree out of it and have fun with the colors. I think that's my favorite part of this project, is just playing with the different colors. So the Layla's mint with the Tricycle red is what I did on here. And then I added this beautiful blue bow. And then again, I love green and like pink together. So I did the Arabesque and the Boxwood on this one. And then I did, again, the Layla's mint and the Tricycle, but I switched it up where the darker colors on the ornament ball, and then the one we just made today, which is the Layla's mint and the Boxwood green. So that is all. It took less than 20 minutes to make this, give or take, drying time. And so I hope this inspires you to start playing with other ways to use Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. Again, I love using it on my furniture, but I also love crafting with it. the thicker it is, the easier it is to stencil on, and there's so many wonderful possibilities there. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for painting with me. And until next time, I hope you have a beautiful Christmas and a wonderful holidays. Thank you guys.